When asked what it means to be Canadian, the first thing that comes to mind is our diversity and our multiculturalism. This diversity is especially important and accentuated in urban areas like Toronto, where over 200 languages are spoken. But what if I told you that this diversity in Toronto that we've come to know and love might disappear in the near future? Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Dones, and I've done some research on income polarization and its effects on our city's diversity. I myself am a fellow Torontonian, and I want to keep our city vibrant and diverse, and so I want to educate you on the phenomenon threatening our diversity. So in this presentation, I'll define income polarization. Then, using the 3 cities within Toronto framework, we'll look at how income polarization plays a role in Toronto. We'll then define some characteristics of these 3 cities, namely ethno-cultural population and access to city services. Lastly, I'll point out one solution to prevent income polarization from worsening. So, let's start by defining income polarization. Income polarization occurs when income is concentrated into 2 separate poles, one rich and one poor. And when income is polarized and concentrated in these 2 poles, the middle class tends to shrink. The problem with income polarization is that there's one group of people who are comfortable and are living lavishly, whereas there's another group of people who are struggling to get by, and this gap is widening every day in Toronto. So Dr. David Holchansky, a professor at the University of Toronto, proposes that Toronto is made up of 3 cities. So city number 1 houses high-income earners, city number 2 houses middle-income earners, and city number 3 houses low-income earners. He points out that these 3 cities are clustering together, meaning that higher income neighborhoods are forming and lower income neighborhoods are forming, and that mixed income communities are disappearing. On screen is a map of the average individual income in Toronto in 1980. So the red represents city number 3, the beige represents city number 2, and the blue represents city number 1. And as you can see, Toronto predominantly was made up of middle income earners, and there was also a balance between high income communities and low income communities. However, fast forward to 2015, where the middle class has virtually shrunk. Also, as you can see, the lower class has been congregated and consolidated in the suburbs and outskirts of Toronto, such as Scarborough and Etobicoke, whereas the higher income communities have been consolidating and congregating in the downtown core, where there's more jobs, more city services, etc. Let's now look at access to city services in these 3 cities. So according to Dr. David Holchansky, city number 3 has been deemed as a less desirable place as no business wants to invest in these areas and in these communities. Moreover, he notes that city services in city number 3 are not as good as they are in city number 1. Let's take public transportation as an example. Not only do residents of city number 3 have to travel farther to get to their workplace, they also have the poorest access to the TTC. In fact, only 19 of 68 TTC subway systems are near or within city number 3 neighborhoods. On the contrary, city number 1 is where most TTC subway systems are located, since it's in the downtown core. Another characteristic we can look at is ethno-cultural population. There are 2 pie charts on screen. The first one shows the ethno-cultural population of city number 1, and the second one shows the ethno-cultural population of city number 3 in 2016. As you can see, white folks are a lot more likely to live in these affluent neighborhoods, whereas people of color, such as Chinese, Filipinos like myself, Black people, etc., are much more likely to live in these lower income neighborhoods. And if this trend continues, low-income people of color will be kicked out further and further away from the city, and this diversity that we love to brag about will cease to exist. With all this said, what can we do to stop the effects of income polarization? while Dr. David Holchansky points out several policies that municipal government can enact to prevent the effects of income polarization. One of these policies is to ban vacancy decontrol. Essentially, vacancy decontrol is the right of landlords to charge whatever they want once a tenant moves out. So once a tenant moves out, some landlords choose to jack up the prices so that they can gain and make more profit. And when rent prices are high, higher income communities live and move into these neighborhoods. So banning vacancy decontrol would prevent the displacement of low-income residents in gentrifying areas. So all in all, diversity is one of Toronto's biggest selling points. However, if income polarization continues, Toronto's cultural fabric will no longer exist. In fact, Toronto will predominantly be made up of white, affluent folks, while people of color and lower income people are going to be kicked further and further away from the city, where there's not much resources and not much jobs and opportunities. So, to stop this from happening, I urge you to use your voice and to call your city councilor. Let them know about the effects of income polarization, and let them know about vacancy decontrol and the policy they can enact to ban and to alleviate the effects of income polarization. So just to get your counselor's phone number, simply look up Find My City Councilor Toronto on the internet. So on the whole, Toronto, let's just do the right thing here. Our city is so vibrant and so diverse, and we cannot take it for granted. Thank you so much.